They drove up the long, winding road just after sunset. The old Victorian house stood on a hill, its paint peeling and windows dark. Emma Carter glanced at her husband, Josh, as they rolled past an iron gate that hung from rusty hinges. Their 2 children, Lily and Sam, pressed their faces against the back seat windows, eyes wide with excitement. This was their new home. Inside, the air smelled of damp wood and stale dust. Emma flipped on the lights. Bulbs flickered in the high-ceiling fixtures. Shadows danced on the patterned wallpaper. Josh set down the last box and ran a hand over the banister. "It needs work," he said softly, but it has character. Emma nodded. But she felt a chill. The house was big enough to hold a family and their secrets. That first night, they heard the floors creak. Lily slept with her blanket pulled over her head. Sam whispered that he could hear someone walking upstairs. Emma told them it was just the house settling. But when she lay in bed, she heard a soft tapping like fingernails on wood coming from the hallway. She sat up, heart pounding, but saw only darkness beyond the doorway. The next morning, Emma found muddy footprints in the foyer, though no one had tracked them in. Josh blamed the children, but Emma knew better. They checked the cameras outside. Nothing showed a person. Yet the prints led down the long corridor to the locked study, where the key had gone missing. Inside that study, dusty books lined shelves that rose to the ceiling. A large desk sat beneath a window overlooking the overgrown garden. Emma tried the desk drawers. In one, she found an old photograph of the house, taken decades earlier. A family stood on the porch, a father, mother, 2 children, and a tall man wearing a dark suit and no smile. His eyes seemed to follow her. That night, Emma lay awake as the wind rattled the windows. She heard faint whispering, indistinct words carried on the breeze. She whispered back, "Who's there?" The words stopped. Then a single voice, clear and sad, "Help us." Emma sat up, frightened, but Sam dozed on the floor beside her. She touched his shoulder. His skin was cold by morning. Sam had a fever. Emma stayed home to care for him. She wrapped him in a blanket and sat by the fire, trying to keep him warm. Lily played with dolls in the corner. Suddenly, Sam sat up and pointed toward the hallway. Emma followed his gaze. A shadow passed the doorway, tall and slow. She stood, calling, "Hello?" No answer. The shadow vanished. Sam's small voice said, "He's lonely." Emma swallowed hard. When Josh came home, he found them in the living room. "Everything okay?" he asked. Emma told him about the shadow, the tapping, the whisper. He frowned but hugged Sam and said, "It's just nerves. This place is old." Emma wiped Sam's forehead, feeling uneasy. She remembered the man in the photo, emotionless and still. She wanted to show Josh the picture, but it was gone from the desk drawer. Over the next days, more things moved on their own. Doors creaked open. A rocking chair slowly swung in the dining room. Lily cried that she saw a woman in white at the foot of her bed. Emma searched the internet for the house's history. She found a newspaper clipping. A fire in 1947 had killed 4 people inside. The photographer described a dark figure seen in the flames. No one knew who he was that night. Emma and Josh sat in the kitchen under a single bulb. They argued about staying. Josh wanted to fix things, make the house their home. Emma wanted to leave. She told him about the fire and how the house seemed alive with sorrow. He touched her hand. "We'll get through this." But his voice shook. They agreed to explore the basement the next day. It lay beneath the back staircase. The door was heavy and locked, but their key turned with a groan. Inside, the air was thick and cold. Water dripped from pipes. Old furniture leaned against stone walls. Emma shone her flashlight on crates stamped with names: Carter, Evans, Miller. They held children's toys and clothes charred and blackened. In the far corner, Emma found a small wooden box. Inside, letters tied with red ribbon. She unfolded one. A mother begging her sister for help as her family burned. The handwriting trembled with fear. Another letter spoke of a stranger who had come to the town, promising safety if they let him in. Emma's blood ran cold. The stranger in the old photograph must have been him. At that moment, Josh shouted. He pointed to the far wall, where a fresh shape seemed to appear in the damp stone, an outline of a man lifting a child. Emma's flashlight flickered. then went out. She screamed as Josh fumbled for matches and relit the light. The shape was gone. Only the rough wall remained. They left the basement in silence. Upstairs, Lily waited, clutching her doll. "Are they gone?" she asked, voice small. Emma hugged her. "They're here," Emma whispered back, "and they need us to remember." That night, they slept in the same room. Lights on, doors locked. Emma dreamed of fire, a man with dark eyes, and a child reaching for her hand. Early the next morning, Emma woke to find the photograph on her bedside table, though she had hidden it away. The tall man stood on the porch, but now behind the family. His hand on the father's shoulder. Emma felt tears in her eyes. She knew the house was telling its story. It wanted justice, or peace, or at least to be heard. She called the local historian, hoping to learn more. The historian told her the stranger's name, Mr. Blackwood, a con man who had preyed on lonely families. That night of the fire, he vanished. Some said he started it. Others said he died inside. No one was sure. In the afternoon, Emma found the front door open. Wind swirled leaves inside. On the porch, she saw footsteps leading toward the woods. She called Josh and Lily, but only Sam was inside, fever gone, awake and smiling. He pointed to the door. "He's outside," he said. Emma peered into the trees. She saw a dark shape slip between the trunks. She decided then they would stay, but they would help the house find peace. They would honor the family, expose Blackwood, and share the story, because some secrets need telling. That evening, they lit candles on the porch, set out fresh flowers, and read the letters aloud. As the last word faded, Emma thought she saw a figure bow at the window. The lights flickered once, and then the house was still. But Emma knew this was only the beginning. The house had revealed its first secret, and there were more to come. The next few days were calm, or at least quieter than before. But Emma knew the house was only watching, waiting. Lily stopped sleeping in her own room. She said the woman in white kept standing by her bed at night. Emma moved her bed into the parents' room and placed salt around the doors. Something she read online. Josh called it silly, but he let her do it anyway. Deep down, even he was starting to feel the house breathe. One morning, while cleaning the upstairs hallway, Emma noticed something strange. A thin crack had formed in the wall outside the old study. It wasn't there before. The wallpaper had peeled back a little, and behind it, she saw something writing. She pulled the paper away slowly, revealing faded words scratched into the plaster. "I begged them. He said he'd protect us, but he lied." Emma's hand trembled as she reached for her phone to take a picture, but when she looked back, the message had faded into the wall like smoke. She blinked, unsure if it was real or a trick of her tired mind. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat by the window with a notebook, trying to piece together a timeline. The family in the photo, the fire in 1947, the man in the suit Mr. Blackwood, a traveling preacher, a con man, a killer. At around 3 a.m., she heard footsteps on the stairs. Soft but heavy, she stood, holding her breath, and opened the door. No one was there, but she felt something, a presence. It moved past her like cold wind and disappeared down the hallway. Towards Sam's room, she ran after it. When she opened Sam's door, the window was wide open. Curtains blew in the breeze. Sam lay still, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. "Sam," she whispered, rushing to his side. He blinked slowly. "He wants to show me something," he said. "Who?" The man with no shadow. Emma felt a lump rise in her throat. She held him close, whispering that he was safe now. But she wasn't sure if that was true anymore. The next day, Emma and Josh decided to visit the town's small library. There, tucked away in the archives, they found an article dated November 1947. The headline read, "Family of for lost in tragic house fire. Stranger vanished without a trace." It included a picture of the family. Same porch, same children. And there, in the background, stood the same tall man in black. But what caught Emma's eye was a line buried in the last paragraph. Locals believe the man, known only as Blackwood, used strange rituals to earn the family's trust. The youngest child was said to have been found outside the house after the fire, unharmed, whispering he took their souls. Emma and Josh stared at each other in silence. when they returned home. The air inside the house felt different, thicker, like it had been waiting for them. Sam met them at the door. "He knows you saw," Sam said. That evening, while Josh fixed a broken light in the attic, Emma found Lily sitting in the living room. Drawing on a piece of paper, she drew the house, then flames, then a man with long arms and no face. "This is him," Lily said softly. Emma took the drawing. "Why no face?" Lily frowned. "Because his face changes. Sometimes he looks like Daddy, sometimes like Grandpa, but he's not them. He's pretending." The wind howled outside, and all the doors in the house slammed shut at once. Josh came running down. "The attic door locked behind me," he said. "I couldn't get out." Emma showed him Lily's drawing. He turned pale. "I think we're dealing with something more than a haunting," he whispered. They decided to call in a paranormal investigator, a woman named Mara, who had dealt with spiritual cases for over 10 years, arrived the next morning. She wore black clothes, carried strange tools, and walked through the house with her eyes closed. She stopped in the hallway outside the study. "There's a door here that doesn't belong," she said. Emma and Josh looked at her confused. Mara pointed to the wall. "There's something behind this wall, hidden." With Josh's help, they broke through the thin drywall. Behind it, they found a narrow doorway leading to a spiral staircase. Dusty and cold, it led downward, deeper than the basement. Mara held out her hand. "We must go down, but be warned, the house has hidden this for a reason." They descended the stairs, flashlights flickering. At the bottom, they found a hidden room, stone walls, strange symbols on the floor, and in the center, a circle of burned wood. Black candles surrounded it. Emma stepped forward and saw a name carved into the stone, Blackwood. Mara knelt by the circle. "This is a summoning room. He wasn't just a con man. He was trying to bind something, or someone." A whisper echoed in the dark, a woman's voice, soft and broken. "Please, help us." The lights went out. In the pitch black, they heard footsteps, a low growl, then a scream. Emma fumbled for her phone light. When it flicked on, she saw Mara against the wall, eyes wide. "He's still here," she whispered. "He never left." They ran back up the stairs and sealed the hidden room. Later that night, Emma checked on the children. They were safe, but as she kissed Sam goodnight, he whispered, "He lives in the house now, and he's waiting for you." Emma stood in the hallway, heart racing. The house wasn't haunted by memories. It was haunted by something alive. And now, it had started to show its true face. The morning sun slanted through the dusty curtains, but it brought little comfort. Emma felt the house's weight pressing on her chest as she made breakfast. Lily sat at the table, carefully lining up her toy soldiers. Sam refused to leave her side, clutching his blanket. Josh moved around them quietly, avoiding the locked door to the hidden room behind the study wall. Over coffee, Emma forced a smile. "Today we're going to clear out the attic," she said. "Get some fresh air in there." Josh nodded, but his eyes were distant. He glanced at the locked door and then at Mara's empty seat at the table. Mara had left the day before, shaken by what they had found. She promised to return with tools for cleansing spirits and perhaps a plan. Emma prayed she would. Josh drove them up the narrow road to the old farmhouse nearby. He had heard from the librarian that its owner once worked with Blackwood. They hoped he might know more. The farmhouse was smaller, built of pale stone, with windows like watchful eyes. An old man named Harris answered the door, cane in hand. "I know of Blackwood," Harris rasped when Emma showed him the photograph. "He came here in '47. Said he was a minister." His fingers trembled as he pointed to a back room. "I saw him bound that circle down there," he said. Hurled words in dead tongues. "My wife. She wouldn't sleep after that." He led them into a dim parlor. A bench by the fireplace held a large book in cracked leather. Harris opened it to pages filled with fading script. "Blackwood wrote this," he said. "He called it the Covenant. He thought to trap a spirit beneath this earth, one he said would bring riches. But the spirit broke free, took the family instead. Then he vanished." Emma's stomach turned. "Where's this circle now?" Harris sighed. "I don't know. He built it under the hill near the old mine, but no one goes there anymore." They thanked him and hurried back to the car. Emma could not shake Harris's last words. The spirit broke free. That afternoon, Josh and Emma prepared for the mine. They packed cameras, flashlights, and salt. Lily and Sam watched anxiously, but Emma promised they would be home before dark. Mara was due at sundown with her sacred oils and chanting scrolls. Emma hoped Mara's rites would trap the spirit in the hidden room again. The mine lay half a mile from the house. A collapsed wooden sign marked its entrance. The hillside yawned a black mouth swallowed light. Josh turned on his headlamp, and they stepped inside. The air smelled of earth and rot. Their footsteps echoed off stone. They found old timbers, broken carts, rusted tools, faded warning signs, and then deep in the tunnel a carved spiral on the wall. Identical to the one in the hidden room. Emma touched it, and the wall trembled. Faint whispering filled their ears. Children's laughter, women's pleas. A man's harsh voice chanting. They pressed on until the tunnel split. To the left, a shaft rose steeply toward daylight. To the right, darkness went deeper. Josh shined his light down the right tunnel. He swallowed hard. I think that's it. Emma nodded. They walked into the gloom, following the whispered voices. Their lamps glowed on damp walls, and something moved at the edge of vision, a shadow gliding. Just out of focus, Lily's drawing flashed in Emma's mind, a man with no face and long arms. Finally they reached a small cavern. In its center lay a circle drawn in red clay. Bones, animal and human, were scattered around, and a stump of burned wood stood at its heart. Emma knelt, her breath catching. This must be it. Josh held up his camera. He aimed it at the stump. Emma placed a line of salt around the circle's perimeter. Sam's small voice whispered behind her, "He's unhappy." Emma hugged him close, and he giggled nervously. Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the cavern. Their lamps flickered. The salt line cracked and crumbled. A low growl came from the darkness beyond the circle. Emma shone her light outward. Nothing, just blackness and faint shapes moving in the gloom. From the center of the circle, a figure rose, first a hand, then limbs, then a tall form draped in shadow. The stump's ashes swirled into a face smooth, gleaming like oil, with no features. Then eyes, endless black wells that stared at Emma and Josh. They stumbled back. Emma dropped Sam's hand. He whimpered. Josh grabbed Emma's arm. "We have to run." But the figure stepped forward, and whispers filled the cavern, words in a language older than memory. The wall at their backs bent inward as if the rock itself was breathing. Emma's heart pounded. She looked at Josh. "We need Mara." They turned to flee, but the tunnel they came through had vanished, replaced by a smooth stone wall. The spirit's voice filled their heads. "You called me back." Emma held Lily's drawing in her breast pocket. She closed her eyes and whispered, "We didn't mean to hurt you." The spirit paused. The air stilled. A new voice answered her thoughts, Mara's chanting, faint but urgent. "Bind the spirit. Bind the house." Emma sensed movement above, near the shaft. Light spilled downward, as a loose rock fell, revealing Mara's small frame hanging from a metal chain lowered through the roof collapse. She called down, "Use the salt. Draw the symbol from the house." Emma and Josh scrambled for their salt and began drawing Lily's spiral over the clay circle. While Mara chanted, each line glowed white as they worked. The spirit shrieked, a sound that rattled their bones. The salt hissed, smoke rising. When they finished, the spiral burned bright. The spirit recoiled, its limbs twisting, ash falling from its shape. The walls groaned. Rocks began to fall. Mara climbed up, hand over her mouth to stop dust. Josh lifted Emma and the children up through the shaft. Emma felt the salt circle quake beneath her feet as she scrambled out. She reached Mara's hand. Mara pulled her out just as the cavern collapsed in a wave of dust and stone, burying the red circle and everything beneath it. Outside, Emma knelt, breathing hard, covered in dust. Josh held Lily and Sam tight. Mara stood above them, wiping soot from her robes. "It's sealed." Mara said, voice hoarse, "But only for a time. You disturbed the spirit's home. The house will still call to it." Emma's throat tightened. "Can it come back here?" Mara shook her head. "It cannot enter a pure place. Salt and spoken names keep it bound. But you must cleanse the house, burn sage, draw symbols, speak the family's names." Emma looked at her children. They were unharmed, but fear lingered in their eyes. She took their hands. "We will protect you," she whispered. Mara placed a hand on Emma's shoulder. "I will return tonight for the cleansing. Until then, stay together. And remember, you are never truly alone." That evening, back at the Victorian house, Emma lit sage bundles in every room. Josh drew protective symbols in salt over the thresholds. Lily and Sam recited the names of the lost family: Thomas, Mary, Grace, Henry. As Emma read from Harris's ledger, outside, the wind howled, rattling shutters. Inside, the air felt lighter. The walls no longer seemed to breathe. For the first time in days, Emma believed the house might find peace. But as the candles guttered and the chanting faded, Emma felt a presence behind her. She turned and saw the tall, dark figure in the hallway, framed by candlelight. It smiled, and the house sighed. Emma stood frozen. The tall figure in the hallway didn't move. It didn't speak. It only stared, its face half hidden in shadow. Its smile wide and wrong, as if it were wearing a human expression it had never truly learned. Josh stepped into the hallway behind her, holding a candle. He stopped when he saw the figure. "Emma, what is that?" Before she could speak, the figure vanished. Not like someone walking away, more like a candle being blown out. Gone in an instant. No sound. No trace. Emma's breath shook. "It saw the cleansing," she whispered. "It didn't like it." Josh nodded slowly. "Then we're doing something right." That night, they didn't sleep. They kept the lights on in every room, and the children stayed in their bed. Surrounded by salt lines and lit candles, Mara sat near the fireplace, softly chanting protective words. But even her voice sounded strained, like she was unsure if it was working anymore. At 3:12 a.m., the house shuddered. Not just the windows or doors, the entire house moved slightly, like something deep under the ground had twisted. From upstairs came a scream. Lily's voice. Emma ran faster than she had ever moved in her life. She burst into the kids' room. Lily sat on the bed, eyes wide, pointing at the closet. "He came out of there," she whispered. "He stood at the end of my bed and said my name." Josh opened the closet. It was empty. Mara stepped in behind them, holding a charm. "The spirit is angry. It's pushing back." She looked at the children, and at once the youngest, Emma, clutched Sam protectively. "Why him?" Mara hesitated. "Because the house listens to him. He's open, sensitive. Spirits speak easiest to the ones who can hear." In the morning, Emma noticed something even more disturbing. The house had changed. Small things. A hallway that used to end at a window now turned right into a new wall. A door in the kitchen that didn't exist before. Mirrors had moved, pictures had flipped, and the staircase creaked in a pattern that almost sounded like footsteps. Josh said, "Maybe we're just tired. Maybe we're seeing things." But Emma knew better. The house wasn't just haunted anymore. It was becoming something else. That afternoon, she went back to the old library alone. The librarian, an elderly woman named Ruth, pulled out a file Emma hadn't seen before. "This was just returned from an estate sale," Ruth said. "It's a diary. Belonged to Mary Carter, the mother who died in the fire." Emma opened it carefully. "He promised us peace." One entry read, "He said the house would listen to him if we let him in. But now it only listens to him." Another entry, written in trembling hand, "Henry is hearing voices in the walls. Grace won't sleep unless the man is in the room. I feel like something is watching me even when I'm alone." Emma's heart pounded. This wasn't just a haunted house. This was a trap, a living one. A structure that listened, that shifted, that learned. Back at the house, Sam stood in front of the old study. The door was still locked, but he stared at it as if he could see through it. "He's behind that wall," Sam whispered. "He's waiting for night." Emma pulled him away. "Gently, don't go near there." But Sam's eyes didn't leave the door. "He wants to come out again. He says you shouldn't have sealed the mine. He says this house is his now." That night, Emma placed the diary beside Mara, who read it silently, face growing pale. "This isn't just a ghost," Mara said finally. "It's a spirit parasite. It attaches to structures, families, names. It doesn't just haunt, it consumes. It learns your fears, your habits, your thoughts, and it changes the place to trap you in them." Josh stepped back. "So we're inside its mouth." Mara nodded. "And it's almost done chewing." Later that night, the house changed again. The walls breathed. You could hear it low and slow, like lungs drawing in air. The wooden floor shifted, pushing their feet in wrong directions. Doorways led to places that hadn't been there the day before. Emma opened the basement door and found an entirely new staircase, one that spiraled downward into pitch-black stone. Josh called from the hallway. The kitchen door just opened. Into Lily's room. Emma shut the basement door quickly. It's folding in on itself. Mara lit a ring of sage and placed it in the center of the living room. She handed everyone small bells. If you get separated, ring it. Don't trust doors, don't trust mirrors. And if you see him, don't speak. He uses your voice against you. Emma nodded, holding Sam's hand tightly. That night, the house went completely dark at exactly midnight. All the lights flickered out. The bells didn't ring, and the mirrors turned black. Emma found herself alone in the upstairs hallway. No Josh, no kids, no Mara. Just the sound of distant breathing. She called out, but her voice echoed strangely, like she was shouting into a deep cave. Then she saw a mirror at the end of the hall, one she didn't remember being there before. Inside it, she saw herself, but not exactly. The reflection looked at her and smiled a long, cruel smile. Then it raised its hand, but Emma didn't move. It wasn't her. The mirror shattered with a scream. Behind her, a whisper, "You see now. You are mine." Emma turned to run, and the hallway bent, literally twisted like softwood, leading her straight into a new room. Inside stood the study, but not how it looked before. The books were burning. The windows were covered in black vines, and at the desk sat Mr. Blackwood, his eyes hollow, his hands folded, his mouth stitched closed. He pointed behind her. Emma turned. Josh, Lily, Sam, and Mara stood, frozen like statues, eyes wide, mouths open. And behind them, another Emma, smiling. The imposter held a knife. Emma screamed and threw her bell to the ground. The sound rang loud and clear, and suddenly the room exploded in light. Mara appeared, chanting louder than ever, throwing salt into the air. Josh grabbed Lily and Sam. Emma rushed forward, grabbing the real children, as the imposters behind. Then turned to ash. The house roared. The walls cracked, mirrors shattered. The floor broke open. Mara screamed, "To the front door, now!" They ran through a maze of bending halls and impossible rooms, but somehow, the door appeared. They flung it open and fell outside into the cold grass, coughing, bleeding, and shaking. Behind them, the house screamed, not in sound, but in energy. A shockwave of sorrow, fury, and hunger rushed outward, and then it stopped. The windows went dark, the front door shut on its own, and silence returned. Emma held her children close. Mara, sitting beside them, whispered, "It's not dead, it's sleeping." "But we forced it back." Josh looked at Emma. "What do we do now?" Emma stared at the house. "We go back in," she said softly, "and we finish what it started." The next morning, the house stood silent. Its windows were dark, its walls no longer groaned. But Emma knew it was only pretending. Josh packed a few things into a bag. "We should leave," he said quietly. "Just take the kids and go. We've seen enough." Emma looked at him, tired eyes steady. "If we leave now, it follows. We already heard Mara say it. The house listens. It knows us now. And if we run, it'll find us somewhere else." Mara stood near the gate, her long coat dusted with ash. "She's right. You've awakened something buried deep inside that house. And it doesn't just want to scare you anymore. It wants to consume." Sam stood behind them, holding his drawing pad. On it, he had drawn the house again, but this time, it had eyes. Dozens of them, watching from the roof, the windows, even the front door. "He says we're still inside," Sam whispered. Emma knelt beside him. "What do you mean?" Sam looked up at her. "The house, it never let us go. Even though we walked outside, we're still in it, in a different room now, a trick room." Emma's blood went cold. Mara blinked. "A spiritual trap. That's why everything feels wrong." Josh looked up at the sky. "Even the air feels heavier today." That afternoon, they decided to test Sam's theory. They walked down the path to the end of the property and looked back. But the house was no longer there. Instead, in its place, stood an old burned ruin, charred beams and blackened stone. A version of the house that had never been repaired. Josh whispered, Is that our house? Emma grabbed his hand. That's what it looked like from the outside. But inside, it still lives. Back inside, the mirrors remained covered. The salt lines remained untouched. But the air felt wrong to quiet. Like something was waiting. They gathered in the living room. Mara placed the diary of Mary Carter on the table. We need to finish this, she said. We need to uncover everything that happened in this house. We need to face the final truth. Emma nodded. We follow the story to the end. That evening, Sam drew another picture. It showed the basement again, but beneath it, another staircase, one that spiraled downward in impossible ways. He says we have to go to the bottom, Sam said. Emma didn't ask who he was anymore. Sam's voice had changed, lately calmer, like someone was speaking through him. Mara opened the study door and lit her lantern. I'll go first, she said, and no matter what you hear, don't listen unless you see each other's faces. The house can mimic sound now. They descended. The basement stairs. The deeper they went, the colder it got. Emma's breath fogged. Lily's teeth chattered. At the bottom, the stone wall that once sealed the hidden chamber had cracked open again. But this time, beyond the crack, they found a second door, one made of black iron, with no handle. Josh touched it. It was warm. There's something behind this, he said. Mara nodded. The heart of the house. Emma looked at her. And we open it. We must, Mara said, but only with the name. Emma reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the photo of Mr. Blackwood. She pressed it against the door. The iron hisstand slowly creaked open. Inside, they found a vast chamber. Much larger than the house could ever physically hold. The walls were made of bone, real human bone, stacked, woven into the structure like bricks. In the center stood a giant altar. Above it, floating in the air, was a single object, a heart, black and pulsing. It beat slowly, filling the chamber with a deep thud. Mara gasped. The soul of the house, that's what it's become. Emma stepped forward, but a sudden scream shook the walls. A figure rose from behind the altar. It was Mr. Blackwood, or what was left of him. His face was torn, stretched. His eyes glowed red. His hands were not hands anymore, but long claws made of smoke and fire. You should not have come, he growled. This is not your house. It is mine. Josh stepped in front of Emma. You killed them. You stole their lives. Blackwood laughed, a sound like shattering glass. They gave them freely. I offered protection. I gave them peace. I gave them purpose. You gave them death. Emma snapped. The room grew darker. Shadows spilled from the altar. You came here thinking you could fix this, Blackwood sneered. But you are part of the house now, and the house feeds on guilt, on fear, on secrets. Mara raised her hands. We're not afraid of you. Blackwood turned to her. No, but she is. He pointed at Emma. And suddenly, the room vanished. Emma was alone again, standing in her old bedroom. But the walls were melting, pictures of her family twisted into monstrous faces. Lily's voice cried out. Sam screamed. Josh shouted from somewhere far away. Emma shut her eyes. This isn't real. This is the house's mind. She remembered Sam's voice. Don't trust what you see unless we're all together. She opened her eyes and focused. Slowly, the illusion crumbled. She stood again in the bone chamber, clutching the photograph of Mary Carter. The others were around her. Mara stood over the altar, chanting. Josh held Sam. Lily whispered prayers. Blackwood hissed and rushed forward. Emma stepped between them and held out the photo. This house was never yours, she said. She tore the photo in half and threw it into the altar fire. The black heart screamed. It shrank, pulled inward as light exploded from the walls. Bones cracked, shadows burned, and Blackwood's voice howled in fury. You have no idea what you've done. The floor cracked beneath him and he fell into the fire. The house roared, every wall shaking, every beam groaning. Then a silence. They ran up the stairs, through the basement, into the kitchen. The front door was open now. And real daylight was outside. They crossed the threshold, and the moment they did, the house collapsed behind them. Not burned, not destroyed. It simply vanished, like it had never been there. Just grass, trees, blue sky. No Victorian house. No spirits. No more Blackwood. Josh sank to the ground, holding Lily and Sam. Emma looked at Mara. Who nodded slowly. It's over. Mara took the photo remains and tossed them into the wind. We've closed it. For good this time. Emma looked back at the empty land. Let it stay buried. But as they walked away, Sam stopped. He looked back at the grass dot and whispered to himself, he's still watching. The sun was warm on their skin, and the birds sang softly in the trees. It was the first time in weeks. The family had felt peace. No voices in the walls, no shadows watching them, no strange creaks or cold air drifting through the rooms. But Emma couldn't relax. Even though the house was gone, completely vanished, something inside her felt heavy. A cold knot in her chest, like unfinished business. Sam hadn't smiled. Since the collapse, he didn't speak much either. He only drew picture after picture of the house. Not how it was before, but how it looked now. Dark, twisted, floating in the air, surrounded by black vines and burning windows. And in every drawing, someone stood at a window. A tall man in black. They moved into a temporary apartment in town. The landlord gave them a good deal, and it was clean, bright, and modern. No creaks, no ghosts. Emma tried to bring things back to normal. She enrolled Lily in school. Josh started looking for work again. Mara went back to her small home outside the city, but called every day. Still, strange things followed them. One night, Lily woke up screaming, "He was in my dream again," she said. But this time, he talked to me. Emma sat on the bed, trying to calm her. "What did he say?" Lily looked at her, terrified. "He said, I left something behind." Emma's heart pounded. "What did he leave behind?" Lily shook her head. "He didn't say, but he told me if I don't return it, he'll come and take it." Emma didn't know what to say. She wrapped her arms around her daughter and tried to tell her everything would be okay. But inside, she wasn't sure. 2 days later, they received a small box in the mail. No return address. Just their name and apartment number. Josh opened it on the kitchen table. Inside was a single object, a black stone, smooth and warm to the touch. Emma picked it up and gasped. Images filled her mind. The house, the bones, the black heart, the altar, Blackwood's face, his voice whispering her name. She dropped the stone. Josh grabbed it and wrapped it in foil. "We're not keeping this in the apartment," he said. Mara came over that same night. She stared at the stone for a long time without touching it. "This is a piece of the house," she said at last. "A memory fragment. When it collapsed, part of it must have stayed with you." Emma shook her head. "But we left. We saw it vanish." "How is this possible?" Mara looked at Sam, who stood silently in the corner, staring at his drawings. "Because it didn't vanish," Mara said softly. "It was pulled into a different place. But your son, he still has a connection." That night, Sam drew something new. It wasn't the house. It was a doorway floating in the middle of darkness. Behind the door, a bright red light. And above it, a single word written in his shaky handwriting: "Return." Emma's hands trembled as she touched the drawing. The next morning, Sam was missing. They searched every room, every floor, every hallway. They checked the doors, windows, and cameras. Gone. Just like that. Emma fell to her knees. She knew where he had gone. He had followed the voice. He had followed the call of the house. With no time to waste, Emma called Mara. "I know where he is," she said. "I saw it in the drawing." Mara arrived with the stone. "This is our key," she said. "We can use it to track the doorway." They returned to the empty field where the house once stood. Nothing had changed, just grass, trees, and silence. But when Mara held the stone to the ground, the earth began to hum. Josh looked around. "What's happening?" Mara whispered. "It's opening again." Not the house. A path. Suddenly, the air in front of them twisted like heat waves forming into a shape. Then, from nothing, a door appeared. Not made of wood or metal. It was made of shadow and light, pulsing like a heartbeat, and carved into it were the same symbols Emma had seen in the altar chamber. Mara turned to her. "Only someone connected to the house can enter. That's you and Sam." Emma nodded. "Then I'm going." Josh stepped forward. "So am I." Mara stopped him. "If you go, you might not come back." Josh looked at his wife. "If our son isn't there, I don't care what it takes." They stepped through the door. Instantly, The world around them changed. No sky, no ground. Just floating stairs, endless darkness, and the faint sound of children laughing. They followed the sound, walking across a path made of broken memories old. Toys, burned pages, broken furniture all floating in the dark. And then they saw him. Sam, standing at the base of a twisted tree, with black leaves. In its branches hung doors. Dozens of them. Behind one of them, the house waited. Emma ran to him. Sam. He turned to her slowly. His eyes were glowing faintly red. He's here, Sam whispered. He's inside me now. Emma fell to her knees, holding him. No, we'll bring you back. Josh stepped forward, lighting a candle. We'll burn him out. But suddenly, the tree screamed. From the highest branch, Blackwood emerged again. Twisted, broken, yet still alive. You thought you could leave? He hissed. This place is not a prison for me. It's my kingdom. He raised his hands and the doors began to open. Behind each door, screams echoed. Mara's voice whispered in Emma's ear. Say his name. Speak it. Own it. Break his power. Emma stood up, holding Sam tight. She looked at the shadow man and screamed, Blackwood, you are nothing. The tree shook. The doors slammed shut, and Blackwood roared in rage. Josh threw the candle. It hit the base of the tree and light exploded. The tree caught fire. The darkness cracked. The door behind them reappeared. Emma grabbed Sam. Josh held her hand. They ran. Blackwood's scream followed them, but it was too late. They passed through the door and woke up back in the grass. The field was empty. The stone was gone. Sam lay asleep in Emma's arms. His eyes were clear again. They went home. This time, for real. No more drawings. No more voices. The house was truly gone. But Emma knew some doors should never be opened. And some spirits, they don't die. They wait. This version had black eyes, a long smile, and behind her stood the house growing out of her spine. Emma raised her charm. The figure laughed. You're not strong enough. Not yet. But then a second voice spoke. Sam's voice. I don't want you in my head anymore. The house behind the dark. Emma shook. I'm not yours, Sam said again. Louder. I don't belong to you. Light burst from the mirror. The house screamed. The dark version of Emma melted into ash, and everything turned white. Emma woke up in her bed, heart pounding. Josh sat beside her, holding her hand. He did it, he said quietly. He forced Blackwood out. Emma looked over and saw Sam, sleeping peacefully. No more twitching. No more nightmares. Just sleep. Real, clean sleep. In the morning, the storm was gone. The sky was clear, and in the distance, above the trees, there was no floating house, not anymore. But as Emma folded Sam's drawings later that day, one paper slipped from the pile, a new drawing. Not of the house, but of a door. And beneath it, the words, he'll build again. The days after their return were calm, to calm. No more screams, no more haunted dreams, no more doors appearing from nowhere. Sam was normal again. He played, laughed, even asked to go back to school. Lily no longer drew strange pictures or spoke in her sleep, but Emma couldn't rest, because deep inside her, she knew what happened in that other world. The shadow house wasn't over. It had paused. It had gone quiet. It was waiting. One evening, Emma took a walk alone. Josh stayed with the kids. The sky was soft pink, the wind cool and dry. She walked through the trees behind the apartment complex and sat by a small stream. And then she saw it. On the ground, half buried in leaves, was a photograph. Her heart stopped. She picked it up. It was a picture of her family. Emma, Josh, Lily, and Sam standing in front of the house they'd escaped. Only one thing was wrong. They were all smiling except Sam. In the photo, his face was blank, his eyes black. She flipped the photo over. One word was written in black ink. Soon. Emma rushed home. She checked on the kids, both asleep. She checked the windows locked. But her bedroom mirror had fogged up, like someone had breathed on it. And in the center of the glass, written by a finger, knock knock. Emma backed away, heart pounding. The next morning, Mara returned. Emma showed her the photo. Mara looked at it in silence. Then she placed her hand on the back. The paper burned instantly in her palm. No fire, no smoke, just a quiet, blue flame. And Then Mara looked up. He's still connected to your son, just a thin thread. But enough. Emma covered her face. What do we do? Mara took out a strange-looking mirror from her bag. Its surface was dark, not reflective like still water. This is called a soul mirror, she said. We use it to see the truth behind a person's image. She placed it in front of Sam, who was eating cereal and watching cartoons. In the mirror, they didn't see a little boy. They saw two versions of Sam. One was smiling, real, innocent. The other stood behind him, tall, faceless, silent. Emma gasped. Mara whispered, "He's riding your son like a passenger, not fully inside, but near. He's waiting for something." Josh clenched his fists. "We have to stop this." Mara nodded. "There's one way, a ceremony. We can separate them. But if we fail, Sam may not survive." That night, they prepared the room, salt in every corner, mirrors covered, candles lit. Sam sat in the middle, surrounded by a ring of ash and sage. Mara drew symbols on his arms with charcoal and whispered ancient words. Josh stood guard at the door. Emma sat just outside the circle, whispering to Sam, "I'm here. I won't let him take you." At first, nothing happened. Then, the lights flickered. The walls cracked. A cold wind blew through the sealed apartment. Mara's voice grew louder. And then, Sam screamed. His body went stiff. His eyes rolled back. From his mouth came a voice not his own. "You should have stayed gone." The room trembled. From the shadows, Blackwood stepped forward again. His body wasn't whole. His skin was cracked, but his eyes burned. He pointed at Emma. "You took my house. You broke my heart. So now, I'll break yours." Josh moved to attack, but Blackwood flicked his hand. Josh flew across the room, slamming into the wall. Emma screamed, "You don't belong here." Blackwood stepped into the circle. Laughing, Mara shouted, "Emma, the mirror." Emma grabbed the soul mirror and held it up. It flashed bright. Blackwood froze. For the first time, he looked afraid. The mirror sucked light from the room. Its surface glowed, and from within it came a sound, a heartbeat. Blackwood roared, "No, not the heart, not again." Sam's body glowed. A second figure, tall and dark, rose out of him. Emma stepped forward and shouted, "I name you. I cast you out." The mirror pulsed. The spirit screamed. Then silence. Blackwood's single quotes S figure shattered like glass, and the mirror went dark. Sam collapsed. Emma ran to him, sobbing. He opened his eyes slowly. "Mom?" he whispered. Emma smiled through tears. "I'm here." Josh groaned from the corner, holding his ribs. "That was a rough ride." Mara placed the mirror in her bag, her face pale. "It's done," she said. "He's gone." Emma looked at her. "For good." Mara shook her head slowly. "Nothing that old ever truly dies. But he's banished for now." Days passed. The air felt clearer, lighter. Sam smiled more. He laughed again. Emma finally allowed herself to believe it might be over. But then, one night, Sam stood at the window, staring out into the dark. Emma walked up behind him. "What are you looking at, sweetheart?" He pointed at the streetlight. A tall, shadowy figure stood beneath it. No face, no movement. Just watching. Sam whispered, "He's still looking for a door." Emma hugged him close. She didn't sleep that night, because she knew some houses follow you, even when you move out. Emma stared out the window long after Sam had gone to bed. The shadowy figure under the streetlight never moved. It didn't come closer. It didn't wave. It only stood still, like it wasn't really human at all. Just a shape, a reminder. Emma whispered to herself, "You lost. You don't belong here anymore." But deep inside, she knew it wasn't that simple. You don't just escape something ancient and evil. You don't destroy a haunted house without leaving cracks behind. And Blackwood, he was part of the house. Even without walls, doors, or mirrors, his presence had found a way back. In the days that followed, Sam grew more distant again. He didn't draw the house anymore, but he started drawing eyes. Lots of them. Eyes in trees, eyes in clouds, eyes on the walls of their apartment. Lily noticed too. "He talks to himself again," she whispered to Emma one morning. "But he says the words are not his. He says someone is whispering from the dark side of the moon." Emma felt cold inside. That night, Emma sat with Mara on the balcony. They both drank tea, but neither spoke for a long time. Then Emma said quietly, "What if we didn't win? What if we just opened something?" Mara nodded. "It's possible. That house, it wasn't just haunted. It was a vessel, and Blackwood, he was only the voice, not the source." Emma looked at her. "Then what was?" Mara hesitated. "Old magic, dark energy, something older than human language, something that needs people to be remembered." Emma leaned forward. "So what do we do now?" Mara reached into her coat and pulled out an old leather journal. It looked ancient, pages stained, corners torn. "This," she said, "belonged to a woman named Eliza Bray. She was a seer in the 1800s. She wrote about a place hidden between dimensions where cursed houses go to sleep." Emma stared. "Sleep?" Mara nodded. "They don't die. They rest, waiting, feeding on memories." Emma flipped through the journal. The sketches were terrifying, twisted houses with arms, windows like mouths, stairs made of teeth, and all of them had one thing in common: a black tree growing through the roof. Emma's voice shook. That tree was in Sam's drawing. Later that night, a storm rolled in. Heavy rain, wind strong enough to rattle the windows, lightning flashing. Every few seconds. Sam woke up screaming, "He's calling me!" He cried. "He's standing outside. He says the house is in the sky now." Emma ran to the window and gasped. Above the apartment complex, floating in the clouds, she saw it. The house, twisted, burned, covered in black vines. And in one of the upper windows, a figure stood watching. Blackwood. Emma called Mara immediately. Mara arrived, soaked from the rain, clutching a satchel of charms, candles, and silver powder. "This isn't a haunting anymore," she said breathlessly. "This is a full return. The house is trying to manifest again." Josh paced. "How?" "We burned it. We closed the heart." Mara opened her satchel. "Not all the hearts are in one place. A house like that, it leaves pieces in people. It planted one in Sam." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "What do we do?" Mara poured the silver powder on the floor and drew a circle around Sam. "We need to travel inward," she said, "into the boy's dream. That's where the final door is." Josh frowned. "You're saying we have to sleep into the house?" Mara nodded. "Exactly. Dreamwalk. But once inside, if we die, we don't wake up again." Emma took Josh's hand. "Then we go together." Mara handed them both a charm. "When you see the door, don't knock. Don't speak. Just open it and face whatever's waiting." That night, they slept. And the dream began. They were standing in front of the house again. But now it floated in a swirling sky. No ground, no stars, only darkness and storm. The walls blood black sap. The roof burned without fire. Josh held Emma's hand tightly. "This doesn't feel like a dream." Emma looked up. "That's because it's not. It's his world now." They stepped through the front door. Inside, the halls were upside down. Blood dripped upward. Doors floated sideways. Paintings watched them with real eyes. In the center of the house, they found Sam sitting quietly at the base of the black tree. Blackwood stood behind him, taller than ever. "You keep coming back," he whispered. "But the house never let you go." Emma shouted, "Let him go. Take me instead." Blackwood tilted his head. "No, I don't want you anymore. I want what you created. Your son, he's my heir." Josh stepped forward. "Not happening." Blackwood raised his hand and the house screamed. The walls split open. From the cracks came hundreds of arms, twisted, pale, reaching. Emma held up her charm. It glowed with fierce white light. Blackwood roared in pain. Josh grabbed Sam. The floor shattered. Suddenly, Emma stood alone. The house was gone. She was floating in nothing. And in front of her, a mirror. Inside it, she saw Sam sitting at a dining table, Blackwood beside him, smiling. Emma screamed, "Get away from him!" The mirror cracked. And then, a voice behind her, "You never should have moved." Emma turned and saw herself, but not quite.